ancient times of 2018 as an 11-year-old gremlin. But with the moral support of the entire boarding community, past and present, I'm now delighted to be known as the smarter, funnier, taller, stronger, and better-looking twin. As a year 7 and arriving late to my first ever boarding event, it was then only safe to rely on my family to never be punctual. At the immature age of 11, I had been a nervous wreck who was unable to even eat a few hours prior to my arrival. I was so nervous that I forgot to pack my bedding. Of course, the boarding staff provided me with replacement bedding immediately, which I'll forever be grateful for. From then on, my first year sailed by smoother than I could ever imagine, as I created new friendships with boys in all year levels, but more importantly, with my roommates throughout the year, Kai and Harry and Keanu, who have now dropped out, and Chen. Beginning 2019, I had enjoyed my first year in boarding so much that I was ecstatic to return throughout the summer holidays. Upon arrival and settling back in, I felt more comfortable introducing myself to the new students who had joined boarding. Being a second-year boarder, I had improved my social skills a heap, and also understood the overwhelming range of emotions the new students felt, especially moving from home to a boarding school with 70-plus boys. By 2020, I was introduced to the one and only, either known as Champ, Muscles, Bud, or your mate, Hugo Delaney. Love you, Hugo. That year and 2021 were extremely COVID affected, as you all know, and students who stayed in the boarding house ranged from around 25 and eventually dropping to 6. I can't really remember much from these years, to be frank. Probably because of the government erasing my memory from the vaccine. We had used our available resources at school to the best of our ability through daily activities administered by staff. A special person who deserves to be recognised during this period is Tam, as she put our needs before her own and made this time as enjoyable as she could. 2022 came around and restrictions finally started to ease. Kai, Chan, Hugo and myself were now fully established as the OGs of the boarding house. This came in handy, especially when wanting something from fresh meat, as they would be hit with the famous words of, "How long have you been here again?" giving us the cue to bypass any situation. This had been one of my more favourable years in boarding, as we had jumped from 7 boys in my year in 2021 to 17. My final year has been one to remember, from events such as winning the basketball tournament as a team of boarders coached by myself and Tam, to boat race weekend, which I could write a novel about with the number of memorable moments. Thanks again to Geordie and Lolita for letting a few of us boarders stay at your place for that eventful although poorly organised weekend. This year, I tried to do something different as captain, as I created a competition where the entire boarding house bought their best outfit from an op shop and were required to bring a non-perishable can to be donated. The night ended up being a success as majority of the boarding house got involved. And it was pretty cute to see Flea and Kai in a dress. Throughout the years, we had lost a few boarders, but gained many too. I'd like to give an honourable mention to the cohort in this room, for all the memories created that we can all agree we'll cherish as old collegians of this college. Every wrestle, Luke Smith, study session, weekly debrief, live also has told, regret, etc., has all made it worthwhile. And to my birth giver, my overly dramatic mum, I cannot thank you enough for the financial and psychological sacrifice you have made in order to give Chan and I the best educational experience. Although we had been told we were moving to this boarding school after being enrolled, it had been one of the best decisions you could have made in order for us to better as people, and I hope you're proud of the young men that we are today. To Mrs. Hopper, your small, kind gestures, such as giving the boys haircuts, reflects your true, kind-hearted character for the short time we shared together. And it's pretty clear to see that Mr. Hopper loves his weekly buzzcut too. On a serious note, both of your experience in working in boarding schools has reflected on the positive turnaround and some of the silly behaviour that crept in during the middle of the year. Thank you for the time we've had. And finally, to wrap it up, I'd like to show my gratitude towards Tam. As a woman who had stuck by the side of Kai, Chan and myself for the past 6 years, she was practically our second mother. She had taught me the morals of selflessness, awareness and especially consideration, as all her decisions managed to have an inclusive yet fair outcome towards the entire boarding community. As my good friend Harry Lawson, who we wish good fortune for the upcoming AFL draft, will mention in the following video, Tam can be very scary. But now that I think of it, she had only shown this side of her when and if needed. Your terrifying ability to appear during the worst possible times will be one thing that I will never forget. And as Flea would say, you should start walking around with the bell so we can hear you coming. Your tolerance is out of this world, and you should be proud of how far you've come. Could we all please give her a round of applause? It's hard to fathom the fact that my time in school was near the end. I've heard a quote from somewhere which mentions how you don't know what you've got till it's gone, which is really beginning to sink in. I advise everyone to live life to the fullest and celebrate your small achievements. Because from little things, big things grow. Could you all now turn your attention to the screens to watch the Year 12 video created by me? We had to cut out some explicit material, but here's the final product.
Jojo, giống lắm.
Steady, Tom.